Hello, everyone. How you doing, Internet? I'm Dan Casey, and welcome to today's episode of Nerdist News Talks Back. It's our weekly over-the-top talk show about all things pop culture, and thank you so much for joining us. On today's show, a Resident Evil TV series is on the way, but is it a better or worse idea than the T-virus itself? After that, we're moving on to a brand new take on the Sherlock Holmes mythos, and from there, we're going to recite the litany against fear because we're so excited for Dune, it's scary. Then we're talking about the weirdest news in the world of food and the biggest announcement at Gamescom. All of that plus some Bill and Ted trivia on today's Nerdist News Talks Back. But there's just so much to get into, I can't possibly do it by myself. That would be a Sisyphean task. So to help me break it all down, please let me introduce you to today's panel. Now, you know her from Fandom, Newegg, Kingston Tech, Geek Bomb, and right here on Nerdist and Geek and Sundry, it's Trisha Hershberger.
Hi, everybody.
So glad to have you here.
So glad to be here. Thanks for the invite. I can't wait to chat with you guys.
We're going to get into it. Now, next up, she's an actress, film critic, content creator, and so much more. You know her from The Movie Couple and Geek and Glitter. It's Wendy Lee Zaney.
Hi, everybody. So excited to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, last but not least, he's the senior editor of Nerdist and the co-host of the 5 Years Rapid, Doctor Who, The Writers' Room, and the Memory Cheats podcasts. It's Kyle Anderson.
Hello, everybody. So glad to be here. This is my first Zoom NNTB, and I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, it's like this. It's like the real thing, but virtual.
Yeah, it seems exactly the same, but like not really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trapped on the holodeck here, so trying to make it feel a little bit normal. But let's get this show on the road. Folks, before we get into it, it's time for a weekly segment that we like to call, Should You Still Be Wearing a Mask in Public This Week? And yeah, it looks like there's still a pandemic, so yes, wear a mask. Stop being selfish. It's not infringing on your rights, not violating your freedom. It's science. Don't be a dumbass. Wear it. Anyway, moving on. Now, on a much more serious note, before we get into the news on today's show, I want to take a moment to reflect and remember the life of Chadwick Boseman, who passed away on Friday after a battle with colon cancer. Now, Chadwick was known for iconic performances as Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, and of course, T'Challa of Wakanda. His loss is immeasurable. He was a true artist and inspiration to so many people all over the world, and we'd like to extend our deepest condolences to his family, his friends, his colleagues, and to all of his fans who are collectively grieving right now. So I want to ask our panel, because you know, obviously a loss is something that's so tragic and hard to reconcile with, but in the face of such grief, sometimes it's nice to celebrate the positive, the memories, the legacy, what you leave behind, how you relate to that person. So I'm curious, panel, if you have a favorite performance of Chadwick Boseman's or a memory about one of his films, because, you know, film is such a communal experience. So Wendy, let's start with you.
The first time I ever saw Chadwick Boseman was in Captain America Civil War, when they finally introduced Black Panther into the MCU, which at first I was like, how are they going to do this? He didn't get, you know, a standalone movie. Traditionally, they kind of do that first, and with the exception of Black Widow. And I was just so excited to kind of see this character come to life on the screen. And I think he's uber talented, and he immediately captured me from that movie. And then every single movie after that, whenever Black Panther was in it, from Black Panther all the way to Endgame, I was just rooting for T'Challa, rooting for Chadwick. And of course, after that, I just became a huge fan, and I followed all of his work in 42 and Get On Up. And most recently, I watched The Five Bloods, and he's just phenomenal in every single film, in any sort of interview that you do with him. It seems like he puts his heart out there, and he gives you all of his time, which is, I think, sometimes I know, like, press conferences and things like that, it can be exhausting, especially for him. And we didn't know this, that he was battling cancer during all of this. And you would have never known, because he soldiered on, he fought so hard. And I also really enjoyed seeing all of the fan tributes. You know, especially I think Jimmy Fallon did a special with him where he surprised fans of Black Panther. And for me, just hearing all those fans talking to the portrait of T'Challa and just saying how the movie made him feel, to see a representation of themselves on screen was so important. To see all the little kids can look up and say, look, Mom, that's me. That looks like me. I'm a superhero too. And that just meant so much to me. I know what this means for people around the world, for kids. And This was a hard blow. When I found out, I was hoping it was going to be fake, and unfortunately, it's a sad loss.
Yeah, I think but you hit the nail on the head there, is that he just meant so much to so many people, and thankfully we will always have those performances and films. They will live on and continue to inspire a new generation of filmmakers, actors, etc. Trisha, what about you? Do you have a favorite Chadwick Boseman performance or memory about one of his films, anything like that?
Yeah, my favorite scene from Black Panther is the very end of the film when T'Challa and Shuri visit Oakland, and it brings everything we've kind of just experienced and how you can bring justice and light and help to the world, to our real current world. And for me, that was such an emotional scene, because especially, and I revisited it when I, found out that Chadwick Boseman had passed, which I'm with Wendy. I was also like, please let this be fake news. I think my first tweet was, please don't let this be a real headline. What kind of sat with me the most is, right now, a lot of people are going through a very difficult time for a huge variety of reasons. And having this wonderful, uplifting superhero story and triumph then be brought into our real world, I think is the ultimate message of hope, and gives all of us hope that, just as we witnessed this fight and this story and this legend, that can be brought into the real world and into everyday lives. And Chadwick Boseman is that legend that we were hoping to bring into the real world. It was his story. And so for me, those things are so intertwined with who Chadwick Boseman is as an actor, and how the character of Black Panther was portrayed in the MCU, that I think it's an incredible loss for the world.
Yeah, truly. It's that feeling of just like, this can't be real. I think that really stuck with a lot of people. Like, I recently lost a friend to colon cancer as well, and this felt just surreal. It's one of those things where you never know what someone is going through, and the fact that he was able to bring so much art and joy to the world while dealing with this is incredibly impressive. He by all rights should have been able just to kick back, relax at home, and like take care of himself. But the fact that he really wanted to produce art and to work with people he cared about, it just speaks volumes about his character and what was important to him. So yes, thank you for sharing that, Trisha. Kyle, what about you, man?
I think, yeah, I mean, it was a tough thing to see, and like I think everybody else, the first time you saw it on social media, you were like, that's got to be fake. There's no way that because he just seemed, I mean, I always thought he was younger than he was anyway, but he'd always just seemed so full of life and just power, just his presence anywhere he was. And so it really, this weekend has kind of recontextualized a lot of his performances that I liked already, like his most recent one in The Five Bloods. He sort of has this mythical like mentor figure who doesn't show up a ton in the movie, but he's such an important character to all the other characters in the movie. And so just kind of like seeing that, like, he had, in a relatively short career, or the last 5 years or so, he really kind of became the icon that he ought to have been always. But like the fact that he could just be this small part, but a pivotal part in this otherwise really, huge movie about all sorts of things, was really great. And then just seeing everybody share like memories on social media, but like the fact that he was going and visiting cancer patients, like that really, it's hard not to get choked up when you see stuff like that, and knowing that he was right in the middle of his own fight, and just, you wouldn't know it by looking at him, which is not, that's not an easy thing to pull off, especially because he had so many public appearances and did, ultimately like 6 of his best movies in the past 4 years, and they were all, in the midst of this horrible disease. So it kind of like, it really puts into perspective both that he was such a powerful figure, but also that like not even being like an icon or a screen legend can stop this type of thing from happening. So this has not been a great year, I think, overall, for a lot of people. And but at least we can all sort of recognize greatness that we had for a short period of time in Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, and I think that I think you kind of spoke to something I think about him as well, which is that he was just someone who, no matter what he was in, no matter the size of his role, he would elevate the production. And just someone who, when he appeared on screen, I was like, oh yes, like. And the silliest example is I got to go to a very early screening of Gods of Egypt. By all accounts, a very bad movie starring tall Jamie Lannister as some sort of Egyptian god. But Chadwick Boseman is also in that movie, and I did not know that going into it. When he appears on screen, it was like 9 in the morning, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, let's do this. And it was just like, it just put me in a good mood. He's just that kind of performer, that kind of guy, like had just a magnetism and a outsized charisma to him. So yes, I definitely, that he's someone that I'm very excited to continue to revisit his filmography and get that same kind of just boost of joy and serotonin and all of that just from getting to relive his performances over the years. Now in the chat, we have John Embury saying such a powerful performance, really embodied the noble power of T'Challa. And Lok Desad 6 says, I was lucky enough to see him at the Infinity War marathon at the El Capitan. It was a great moment for myself as well as for everyone. I definitely felt the loss. So thank you everyone for sharing your memories. If you have other memories about Chadwick, I urge you, share them with your friends, check in on people. And also, if you are a young person, definitely speak with your doctor and get checked out. It's better safe than sorry, because colon cancer is a very serious issue, and you never know. Worst case scenario, you will identify something early. Best case scenario, you will be fine, but then at least you will know and you will be safe and healthy. So that is my urge for you folks out there. Now, that said, let's move on to something a little more ridiculous and like exciting and just hopeful. Okay, let's move on. Next up, take me down to the Raccoon City where the herbs are green and the girls are either undead abominations or members of stars. There's no good way to transition out of that. That's right, folks. Last week, Netflix announced they're making a Resident Evil TV series. Former Supernatural writer and showrunner Andrew Dabb is spearheading the series, which promises a mixture of familiar faces and new surprises. Now, the show will take place across 2 timelines, one following the 14-year-old Wesker sisters, Jade and Billy, as they move to New Raccoon City. The other takes place a decade in the future, where fewer than 15 million people remain on Earth, 6 billion T-virus-infected monsters roam the planet, and Jade struggles to survive in the new world while secrets from her past continue to haunt her. Spooky. Okay, so obviously there's been so many Resident Evil movies, but this is a Resident Evil TV series. So what are you hoping to see from a show like this? Trisha, let's start with you.
I'm really excited that they're doing 2 timelines, because for me, in any kind of post-apocalyptic world, I think that probably most people want to see what life in the post-apocalyptic future looks like. So we're getting that with the one timeline. But for me, like, I watched The Matrix and I love the Matrix, but I'm real interested in the Animatrix. I want to know how we got from where we are now to what that looks like. So again, I love that they're doing the 2 timelines, because I feel like we'll have this really fascinating and compelling mystery of how we're getting there and watching all the pieces fall into place while still getting the Resident Evil that we all know and love from the games. I'm super hopeful. I know not a lot of video game to screen adaptations have been very successful. I always like to say, but what about Witcher? Oh yeah, but that was based on the books. So it would be really nice if we can get there. I mean, Andrew Dabb coming to us from Supernatural, that's a promising sign. Supernatural is amazing and ran for bajillion seasons. I feel like no one can ever finish a binge watch of that in any reasonable amount of time, because there's just too much there. However, Supernatural is a little more campy in feel, and I think I want this to feel more realistic and darker. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because is this going to succumb to the video game curse? Like I did a piece back in the day talking about why video game movies always suck, or it feels like they suck, and that's because, at least in my estimation, it's because you are taking a very active form of entertainment, a video game. Like a game like Resident Evil, compared to a horror movie, works very differently. In Resident Evil, you are the one who must open the door to predicate the jump scare. And if you never press X, you're never going to get scared. Like the thrills and chills will not happen unless you make them happen. Whereas in a horror movie, after 2 hours or so, it's done. You do not have, all you have to do is sit down and press play, or just sit down and keep your eyes open, and it will continue to unfold in real time. So it's how do you take that kind of, that brand of like very active entertainment that places a great deal of agency on the audience and adapt that to the small screen. And thankfully, I think because Resident Evil is in the horror genre, the survival horror genre, that's something that translates very well to big and small screens. But I'm curious how they're going to maintain the very goofy spirit of a extremely convoluted series like Resident Evil, which is equal parts thrills and other parts like, what the hell did that mean? The Master of Unlocking? What are you talking about? But Wendy, I'm curious, what do you think about this series? Do you think they can beat the video game curse?
Oh gosh, I sure hope so. I do love Resident Evil, although every time I played it, it's just like, it takes a long time for me because jump scares in horror movies, I am fine with. Jump scares in video games, because just like you said, you're the one that have to open the door. And sometimes just like, you know, I don't know if I can find out. I don't know if I can do it. And then once I'm scared, I play badly. So which means that in like a zombie apocalypse or something like that, I most like would not survive because I would be like, I don't know what to do. Do I press X or what do I press? Wrong button. But with the fact that they are turning it into a series and not another movie, actually is kind of exciting, because I think for a video game title like Resident Evil, there's just so much to cover. And I think that's hard to do in a single video game movie. And that's why there's probably been so many like Resident Evils that you just keep trying. And this one is really interesting to me because we're seeing Jade and Billy Wesker, which kind of gives me hope that maybe we'll see Albert Wesker.
Yeah,
so,
we have. I was going to say, we got Summers in the chat saying they hope they do Albert Wesker right. I don't know who should play him. Hiddleston ? So who do you want to see as Albert Wesker?
I will watch Hiddleston in anything. I mean, but also I'm kind of on an Oscar Isaac kick, so I will put his name in the hat as well. I would love to watch him play like a younger version of Albert, and then, you know, when we jump the timeline, we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see then maybe flashbacks of Albert. So I don't think we'll see super old Albert, but you never know.
No, I want to see old ass Oscar Isaac in like crazy old age makeup playing Albert Wesker. You've sold me on this. But Kyle, what do you think about this with the multiple timelines and the obvious hurdle of adapting a video game franchise into a coherent TV series? Do you think that's something they can overcome?
I think that there's definitely they're setting themselves up, I think, for an interesting time of it, I guess. Like there's a chance with the multiple timelines it could be kind of like Westworld, and kind of, you know, like we're not really sure what's going on. The trap that they don't want to fall into is they don't want it to just become plotting like The Walking Dead became after a while, and then they also don't want it to just be like, I mean, the movies after a while, I love them for what they are, but like you don't, that's some crazy stuff. So you have to really thread the needle between being too realistic, which is not like the games, and too over the top like the movies are. So I feel like they're making themselves kind of, you know, giving themselves the best opportunity, but also like setting themselves up for like major problems too, because if one timeline isn't working in your story, that's you can't just switch focus if, you know.
Yeah, you know what, we're done with that. Bring me back to the horrible future.
Yeah.
I'm curious as well, with things like Resident Evil, Castlevania, there's been a big uptick in video games getting turned into TV shows. What video game series that doesn't currently have one do you think deserves a TV series or could excel in that format? Kyle, yes.
It's a game that has been very much on my mind lately, but Control, I think, is the best, like has so much lore to it that you could do like 4 seasons of pre the game and it would be like the most interesting show of all time. And they've already cast those people because they're real people, you know, motion capture and everything like that. So you could just cast those people in the game or in the show, and like that's half the work done.
Yeah, I think especially with the kind of like mind-bending sci-fi and just there's just something that would translate very well to the screen with all that brutalist architecture that just feels dark and imposing.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be a smash hit. I'm surprised maybe they are making one. It feels like an announcement I would have read already, but if not, hey, I think that's a winning idea right there. But Wendy, what do you think?
I am gonna put Legend of Zelda out there. I feel like we need it. And also, kind of in the same realm, Fable would be a fun one as well.
Ooh, yeah, I think like a nice like fantasy series with a like good sense of heart and humor would be a nice piece of counter programming to the kind of dark and gritty stuff that we've gotten from the Game of Thrones era. But with Legend of Zelda, would you want that to be live action or animated?
I struggle with this because I would very much love to see like a live action, but I also know how sometimes it just wouldn't transfer over well. So for me, I love animation. I think there's tons of things you can do with the animation. So I would not mind seeing an animated series for Legend of Zelda.
If they do an animated series and never let Link talk, I will watch that day one. Just let him do his like hops and everything that he's going to do when he's rolling around and all that fun stuff. I don't know. Trisha, what do you think?
Well, first of all, if we do a Legend of Zelda animated, they need to sneak in an "excuse me, princess."
Just one.
But for my game choice to be made into a TV show, I want to double, triple, and quadruple down on the Remedy Games connected universe. So Alan Wake and Control being that whole connected universe being made into a television series that has like it's horror with a dash of X-Files and conspiracy theories. And it would be, there's so much to delve into outside of just Alan Wake's story that we know from Bright Falls and Jesse Faden's story that we know from Control, and just tackling other altered world events. And they could potentially tie in real conspiracy theories or AWEs that have happened in the world and how those are handled by the Federal Bureau of Control. I'm into all of it. Sign me up. Get me my popcorn. Yes, please.
As for me, that sounds amazing. But my pick is, I think, a little tonally different than what I've heard so far. I want just like a real nice, like small town romance set in the world of Stardew Valley. Just a city slicker moves out to the countryside, unprepared for what life holds, and you got to have the Hat Mouse in there. If I don't see my boy Hat Mouse, I will turn it off, and you will still make $1 billion because I just gave you that for free. So there you go. Now in the chat, we also have Joe Vessio saying Twisted Metal, which would be pretty awesome. Alexander Fleener says Assassin's Creed, it can't be worse than the movie. And Kevin Bowers says Fable as well. So clearly, great minds think alike. But let's move away from the world of Netflix TV adaptations and move towards the world of Netflix film adaptations. There's a brand new pint-sized Private Eye in town, and she's Holmes-grown. Last week, Netflix gave fans a first look at Enola Holmes, their new original movie starring Stranger Things' Millie Bobby Brown as the eponymous Enola Holmes, who's the younger sister of Sherlock and Mycroft Holmes. Now, joining the notorious MBB are Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes, Sam Claflin as Mycroft Holmes, and Helena Bonham Carter as the family matriarch Eudora Holmes. It's based on the Enola Holmes Mysteries books by Nancy Springer, and Enola Holmes looks like it's going to be this rollicking, fourth wall breaking adventure in the vein of like a young Sherlock Holmes. Now, full disclosure before we go any further, Nerdist is part of Legendary Digital Network, so this is technically from our cool corporate dad, but we'll be talking about this anyway. So that said, what did y'all think of the Enola Holmes trailer? Trisha, let's start with you.
It looks so good. I am totally on board. I think it looks really fun. We all know Millie Bobby Brown's an amazing actress, and I think there are a lot of us who find her quite lovable on screen. So that bodes well for them. And yeah, the series just looks like a lot of fun. And Henry Cavill is on fire right now, so everyone wants to tune in for that. I saw a really funny tweet that I retweeted that was like, "This movie looks awesome. Henry Cavill rocking the Superman curl is a nice like throw in there for all the other nerds checking this out. And also, we got a hot Sherlock."
Yes.
Like, who in that writer's room was like, hold up now, what if Sherlock was hot? Which at first I was like, is this an insult to Benedict Cumberbatch? But I feel like they are different. It's like apples and oranges. They're incredibly different. But yes, Henry Cavill here as Sherlock, I'm into it.
Yeah, I gotta say, the decision to make Sherlock Holmes a towering beef castle is just inspired. Like, I was not, like, I'm so used to seeing, like, kind of, like, waifish genius Sherlock Holmes, that seeing him as, like, 900 pounds of pure muscle, I was like, all right, You know what? I'm on board for this.
Hey.
You can lift and solve mysteries at the same time. We have Docker MC. I apologize if I butchered your username in the chat, saying I'm a fan of the books and they got a hell of a cast. I'm pretty psyched. Now I haven't read the books, but I'm curious. What do you hope this story adds to the sprawling world of Sherlock Holmes stories, Wendy?
I am most interested in seeing the dynamic between Enola Holmes and Sherlock and Mycroft. There's just a lot of they're all super smart, super detective, Superman, super detective. And what is going to be really interesting in this version of it, because of the age difference too between Enola and Sherlock and Mycroft, and kind of just the biggest difference is the personality and how they're going to clash heads. And we saw a bit of that already in the trailer, which was really interesting, wanting to send Enola to some sort of, just all-girl school, and you're just kind of like, oh, she's not here for this. And I think that's just going to be a lot of fun, very cat and mouse, and one trying to outsmart the other. That's going to be the most fun, most exciting thing for me to look forward to.
Yeah, we got a little taste of that family dynamic in there, and I got major quarantine vibes from Enola and Eudora, just like going through every single activity you can do at home, ranging from fencing to anagrams, not bananagrams. That is very different. My brain is addled right now.
They had those in the early 1900s.
Yeah, they were a big issue back in Victorian era London. Speaking of big issues, the game is also afoot in a court of law because the Conan Doyle estate also filed a lawsuit alleging copyright infringement and trademark violations against Netflix legendary Penguin Random House and author Nancy Springer. And at the crux of this case is emotions, specifically depicting Sherlock Holmes as a character with emotions. While many Sherlock Holmes stories are in fact in public domain, others, produced in the later years, are not. And the Conan Doyle estate claims that the movie adapts a version of the character from copyrighted stories which feature a warmer version of Sherlock Holmes. So, Kyle, what are your non-slanderous thoughts about this that cannot affect us in a court of law?
Well, that's a tougher one. In general, I think that way more things should be in the public domain way earlier than they are, and this has been something that's been going on the last 20 or so years. A lot is companies and rights holders trying to hold on to their intellectual properties for longer, because when copyright law initially came into effect, people were not expecting there to be long-term franchise capabilities with these things, at any rate. So the weird thing about this one is that there are 10 stories that are still covered by the Conan Doyle estate, but everything before that is considered public domain. So you might think that specifically adapting those 10 stories is the only way that that's going to be an issue, but they keep making this claim that the way the character was written was different between, in the break. And that's something but if a character is in the public domain, anybody can write them any way they want to. So maybe, it's a hard thing to argue that they are copying these specific 10 stories the way that the character is, versus how this adaptation or this, this version of the character as written by a new writer is imagining it. So it's a really tough one. And I think, for most of it, the Conan Doyle estate keeps not winning those cases because it is so hard to argue, what is or what is not Sherlock Holmes in any given time.
Yeah, when I was reading about this lawsuit and this case, it struck me that they were saying that, while Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was writing these stories, a war broke out, the Great War, World War I. And during that, his son passed away. And that really affected him, and it made him want to imbue his character with more emotion. So I understand they want to be protective and get their Arthur Conan Doyle, but at the same time, it does feel like it's something hard to litigate, especially when so much of this character is in the public domain now. So we'll just have to wait and see how it shakes out, but we're definitely going to be watching Enola Holmes when it comes to Netflix. And moving along, let's keep talking about things made by our cool parent company, our cool corporate dad. I'm, of course, talking about Dune. That's right, folks. The sleeper has almost awoken. The sleeper kind of hit the snooze button because it set an unrealistic aspirational alarm, but realized, what am I doing? I need 10 more minutes of garbage time sleep. But there's plenty of good news for Dunatics right now, because not only is Warner Brothers releasing the first trailer for Dune at 9 a.m. Pacific on September 9th, but Empire Magazine treated fans to a better look at characters like Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides, Zendaya as Chani, and the Sandworms as the Sandworms. Seriously though, did you guys see those Sandworms? Because holy cow. So I'm curious, and Kyle, we'll start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on the new looks of the characters and specifically the design of the Sandworms?
Since the first images have been released, I've been so in for the entire cast of this. I think they look amazing, and I can't wait to see. You were talking about towering beef castles earlier. I think this is just like a movie full of bearded hot guys, and I'm into it. I model my life around doing such a thing. But the sandworm is terrifying looking. I think the sandworms in every version have been really scary. I mean, it's just like a big giant mouth like that with a vacuum cleaner that is just devouring everything around it. And that image in the cover where it's literally just a circle with teeth, that's like legit deep-seated fear for me. So like that'll be a really fun section.
Yeah, that almost feels like some real cosmic horror right there. Just like this unknowable chasm just full of gnashing teeth erupting from the floor of the desert to potentially devour you whole. But Trisha, what did you think about these first look images, and what do you hope to see from the final film?
Now, I have not read the books. I feel like I am the only one of my friends that is kind of coming into this. Okay, good. Wendy, you too? Awesome. It's not just me then. Oh, and Kyle, you too?
Yeah, no, I haven't read it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well,
those books are boring.
I feel like everybody else I know has read the books and has all these like hot theories about this character and that character and what everybody's supposed to look like. But as someone who's coming into this, without having any preconceived ideas, I think it looks awesome. I think they have a killer cast. The images we've seen so far look really enticing. And the sandworms. Now, granted, I'm not the only person that I think probably thinks of sandworms and thinks of Kevin Bacon. However, these sandworms are completely different. I mean, that poster, I'm like, what is that, a black hole? No, that's a sandworm, and that is terrifying. And can I watch it, please?
Yes, I especially that last part. Please, I will say it as many times as it takes for you to let me to watch this movie. I love Denis Villeneuve. I love Blade Runner 2049. I can't wait to see this. I've read the book, and I'm very excited to see how they've translated some of the stuff to the big screen. But also, when the first movie came out back in, I want to say 84, the David Lynch movie, they had to hand out a pamphlet to theater goers with like a little dictionary of terms. So I think a big worry is that this can be kind of impenetrable for people who aren't familiar with the source material. So Wendy, as someone, we were chatting as well, you mentioned you hadn't read the book, but as someone who's uninitiated to the world of Dune, what was your thought based on these images, and what do you hope to see from the film?
First of all, the image sold me. If I had not heard of Dune before, sold regardless. Obviously I have heard of Dune. I've watched the movie, but it was a long time ago and I didn't watch it all in one sitting. So if you ask me things about it now, I like really couldn't tell you. So my knowledge, it needs to be refreshed. And I really want to dive into the books. I really want to rewatch the David Lynch version. And I believe there was like an older TV show / miniseries.
Yeah, sci-fi miniseries.
Yes, a long time ago. So I want to dive into those. But the universe and just with the books alone, it seems so expansive. And honestly, I am like intimidated because I tried going down to just various forums and things like that just to study Dune, and I scared myself, and I'm just like, I can't, I don't know if I can do this. So the approach for me, I think with this version of it, I think I really want to go in almost blind, like fresh page, see Denis Villeneuve's version of it first, and then I want to read all the books, because I believe there's more than one, and then I want to go back and revisit the film and the TV series.
Yes, so there's quite a bit of Dune source material out there. This is going to be part 1 of 2 that's kind of adapting that first book. And if you're feeling like a little intimidated by the book, just given the like size and reputation, I highly recommend the audiobook. That was how I first that's how I first read it. I listened to the audiobook and it was just great. I found myself just getting distracted from whatever I was doing because I was just getting absorbed in this like very engrossing performance. And there's just so much world building, and it is a really immersive, expansive world. Like, it makes sense why they had to pass out that kind of dictionary of all the terms. But then I think about all the other pop culture nonsense that I've put into my brain over the years, like just minor characters from Game of Thrones, like weird popsicle commercials from like the 90s. Like, my brain is full of absolute nonsense instead of something useful like algebra. So I think that anyone who has a similar brain, or like the way they approach pop culture, it's not going to be as intimidating as it may seem. And I definitely urge folks to check out the book, especially you're at home right now. If you don't have a copy of it, if you have a library card, download the Libby app and you can rent it from the library, audiobook or ebook for free. Highly recommended. Support your local libraries. Yeah, we have Alexander Fleener in the chat saying, I'm on my 7th Dune audiobook. So yes, you can have hours of fun with the fun in the sun of Arrakis, and all the spice that will flow through your veins and your ear holes should you partake on this journey in particular. So from there, let's move on. Speaking of spice, let's move on to our next topic. It's another installment of one of my favorite segments on the show. We take these small, bite-sized food stories and we just scarf them down quickly in a little piece we call Quick Bites. It's content you can digest in less than 10 minutes in a title that must never, ever be truncated, literally ever, or else I'm going to get a very stern message from our lawyers. So first up, climate change. We all know it's a very real threat to our planet, but who knew it could be this delicious as well? Because in Switzerland, a Lindt chocolate factory's ventilator malfunctioned, causing it to snow chocolate all over the town of Olten. Basically, a fine particulate dusting of cocoa nibs then snowed down on the town. So I'm curious, what would your reaction be to this happening, and what food would you most want it to rain or snow in your town? Wendy, let's start with you. I saw the light bulb of inspiration go off there.
Like, oh, what kind of food would I want to rain? First of all, if I saw that it was raining chocolate or chocolate powder, the immediate reaction, basically the same as the first time I saw snow, was like immediately. And I know it's just like, I think it was untreated cacao nibs, so I don't think it had any sort of flavor to it. I would have probably just danced in it anyways, and then ended up having to take a shower and wash all of it out. But I would have completely loved it. And as far as a food, raining food, okay, first I thought pizza, but then I thought how much that would hurt if it came down.
When they achieve terminal velocity.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so maybe something a little bit more fluffy, like cotton candy, would be fantastic, and I can still catch it kind of like a snowflake.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, because that will also dissolve pretty quickly too. We have to think about the cautionary tale of cloudy with the chance of meatballs before we make our picks here. But Trisha, same question. What food would you prefer that it precipitate from your location?
Okay, everybody's going to hate this answer, and I'm okay with it. But I'm going with milkshakes because...
Oh my gosh. Why would people hate that?
I think people would hate it because then we're all going to smell like sour milk if we get rained on by milkshakes. Like, it's going to be awesome for the first, I don't know, 15 seconds, and then after that everyone's gonna be like, cool, there's milkshake all over me. But let's say hypothetically you had some kind of covering umbrella that had a funnel that just went right down so you could walk around with that, then I'm all about milkshakes. And yeah, if I have to get specific about the type of milkshake, let's go with I can't say cookies and cream because then it might be chunky and then it will get stuck in your umbrella funnel straw. So let's say like chocolate strawberry.
I think that is a winning combination right there. And if you'll excuse me, I have to go quickly patent my design for the next season of Shark Tank for the drinkable umbrella. I think you're really onto something right there.
Thanks.
Yeah. I'll give you some equity on the back end. It'll be good. We're all set.
I appreciate that.
But Kyle, same question to you. What food should it rain?
Well, everyone is saying like sweet things, which would obviously be great. But what about some savory rain? What if it was like, like a nice vegetable borscht? Would that be all right?
I'd be worried because I think it's raining blood. This is a biblical plague.
That's true.
Just a delicious.
Maybe like a clam chowder. New England, obviously, not Manhattan. You don't want to, again, the blood thing, but all the potatoes and the clams and things like that.
Wiped out by level 5 chowder storm.
Yeah, or maybe like some Cheetos dust if we're doing dust. I like a Cheetos dusting.
You just, the dust, you just teed up next story perfectly. But real quick, Steven Summers in the chat says spiced rum. Steven, I like where your head's at. And I also need that umbrella with the straw for that rain as well.
Yep.
But speaking of dustings, Kyle, now adults may not know why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but the makers sure as hell do. They're sweet, delicious cinnamon. Otherwise, it would just be Toast Crunch. Now, according to Food Beast, beginning in September, you can start buying jars of Cinnadust. So literally anything that you own can become cinnamon toasted. So my question to you is, would you buy this? And is there a food flavor you'd rather put on everything than this Cinnamon Toast Crunch Cinnadust? Trisha, I saw you get very excited by this prospect. Please.
I'm very excited. September is my birthday month. I think they did this just for me. I will 100% buy this. And if I can pre-order it by the case now, please let me know exactly which URL to go to. Yeah, this is awesome. When I was younger, I remember making my own containers of cinnamon sugar so that if I made a bagel or a piece of toast and put butter on it, then I could sprinkle cinnamon sugar on it. But I was reading about this too. And it's not just cinnamon and sugar in that Cinnamon Toast Crunch dust. Oh. It also has vanilla and graham and num, 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 num. I want to put it on pretty much everything. It's going to be a problem when it gets here.
Yeah, you sound like the target audience for that right there, 100%. I love that you used to jury rig your own solution.
I did that. I honestly did that from probably the age of 8 through 17. So yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think Kyle was also onto something there with the Cheeto dust, because that could be I already put tahini on almost anything, but having that especially for I don't know, chili or tacos or something, that could be a real game changer right there. But moving on, let's leave the world of Cheetos behind and talk about Pokemon. Now, Pokemon tells us we've got to catch them all, but I'm not sure I can get behind this latest craze, because ardent Pokemon fans are buying used limited edition Pokemon popsicle sticks. Used. These popsicle sticks are part of a tie-in promo for Pocket Monster the Movie Coco, and certain boxes included winning sticks with codes that will let you get an exclusive trading card of the mythical Pokemon Zarude, who appears in the movie. Now, these used popsicle sticks, again, used, are selling for up to 14,000% more than their 350 yen, or roughly $3.30 price tag. One box went for almost $470. So Wendy, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this? And what's the weirdest thing that you have collected over the years?
I can't get over purchasing somebody's used popsicle sticks. Yes, I know you can wash it, sanitize it and all of that, but it's just legit somebody's saliva was all over the stick, and especially what was on those sticks. And I get that, I love Pokemon too. I'm wearing a Pokemon necklace right now, but the codes on it and everything, you can't even redeem it to get what you would like. So what are you going to have these little popsicle sticks for? I don't understand it. I definitely would not. If that's something you really want to collect, good for you. I hope you get it and I hope you enjoy it. But that's just I am not into that. And the weirdest thing I collect, I don't think it's the weirdest, but I think it's probably some of the useless things when you go to a movie theater. God, what was that? What's a movie theater? When you go to the movie theater and they're promoting movies, and they usually have those extra large cups, refillable, reusable cups.
Yeah.
And they have whatever movie they're promoting. I probably have about 5 or 6 of those. And I rarely use them at home. They're too big for just a little bit of water. And especially since I'm clumsy, I would spill and it would go all over the place. A lot of mess to clean up, but I keep buying them and I keep bringing them home. I can't stop, Dan.
It's hard sometimes when you're like, well, it's only 25 cents more and I get to keep the cup.
Exactly.
That's how they get you. It's just a quarter more. Yeah, I think this wasn't like something I collected, but it was something that I did go out of my way to and spent way too much money on. I bought it for a friend, mostly as a gag gift. So from 2006 to 2009, the Pepsi Corporation produced a soda called Pepsi Jazz, which was just this weird version of Pepsi with like dessert flavors, and it was absolutely disgusting. And I spent like maybe $40 or $50 buying it off of eBay to get a 6-pack of it for a friend. And yeah, that's just what came to mind. And I realized that there's a whole wide world of soda collecting out there. There's like a big place near Los Angeles called Galco, where you can get kind of like any soda imaginable. So if that's your bag, highly recommend it, but make sure you buy them unused, or else I'm just going to be real bummed out and upset with you. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Speaking of things that didn't leave me bummed out or upset, let's move on to the world of gaming. Last week, Gamescom took place not in its usual locale of Cologne, Germany, but entirely online for all the world to attend. The massive online gaming expo gave fans an extended look at games like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart for the PlayStation 5, a first look at Dragon Age 4, including the return of that D-bag Solus, The Sims 4 getting a full-on Star Wars expansion pack, Fall Guys going medieval in Season 2, and so much more. So, Trisha, I want to start with you. What was your favorite announcement of Gamescom?
Gamescom! There were so many things that were introduced that were really fascinating, but I will say one of the things that I was surprised the most by, Sims Star Wars, didn't see that coming, for sure. But one of the things that I was really surprised by is I've been following 12 Minutes from Annapurna Interactive for a while. I'm a big indie games fan. I do an indie games showcase on my Twitch channel weekly. And so this indie game, 12 Minutes, like I said, from Annapurna Interactive, announced, first of all, they showed off their latest trailer and announced that the cast includes James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe, which... that it's like, they're like, and an all-star voice cast. And I think a lot of us think of the voice actors that we're traditionally used to seeing in video games, not necessarily actors that we're used to seeing in movie theaters. Not to say that anyone is more or less talented than the other. It was just a surprise. But everything that Annapurna puts out always makes me go, huh? So this was just another one of those announcements, and I cannot wait. All they said is, I think, coming soon to Xbox and PC. So I can't wait to see what that is. And then, honorable mention will be Star Wars expansion for The Sims. I have not played The Sims for probably, I don't know, at least 2 years. But with that disclaimer, every time I pick up The Sims, it doesn't matter which Sims it is, I become furiously addicted and cannot turn it off. It's a problem. I'm a very let me control everything kind of type A personality. So it hits all my buttons of being able to have ultimate control over people in their lives. So combining that with Star Wars, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get back into Sims and I'm never going to do anything else. But also, yay. But also, oh no.
Yeah, but I feel that very hard. Self-care is not playing The Sims for me, because otherwise it's just it'd be like I would look down and then look up and pandemic would be over. It just would be like 2022. I would not get anything done. And yeah, I gotta say, Willem Dafoe, no stranger to voice acting in video games. I really loved him, and I understand that other people may not. It was not Quantic Dream's best received game, but him in Beyond Two Souls, I thought was a very affecting performance, and I enjoyed that game more than I expected to. But I know that opinions about David Cage and his writing may vary. But moving back to Gamescom for a moment, were there any games that you were hoping to hear more about, or any announcements that stood out to you, Wendy?
I was actually surprised, kind of in the same line as Trisha, The Sims 4 Journey to Patu, because I miss Disneyland so much. And now it's just going to feed into everything I want. And I wish things were normal, and I wish things, I could still go to Galaxy's Edge, and I want to build and collect. And it's just, and I'm worried about it, because I know I'm going to get to a point where I just stop because I'm not satisfied with the layout or the design or whatever. And then I stop halfway, just kind of like what I did with Animal Crossing, because I hate my island right now and I have completely stopped playing, but I plan to pick it up. Another one on the Star Wars realm is also Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. The Lego games are just always so darling and they're fun to play. So for like especially more casual gamers, I think that's a really fun one, and it's a family one, so it's a lot of fun. If people's like, oh, I don't know, I've never played video games before, and I'm like, look, you just smash buttons and you run around. It's gonna be fun, and you get to play through Star Wars, and then finally World of Warcraft, Shadowlands. Every time they drop any sort of like new World of Warcraft expansion trailer, I'm just like, ooh, but do I want to lose like another 5 years and get back into it? And I so badly want to. I so badly want to.
Yeah, that's I feel that in my soul. I played World of Warcraft Classic when it came out, trying to recapture that spirit of when I used to play vanilla back in the day, and I was like, oh, I forgot how this just sinks its tendrils into me and just destroys any desire to not play the game. So that would be bad news bears for me if I were to play Shadowlands, but I wish everyone is going to play it very well. We have Steven Summers in the chat saying Star Wars Squadrons also looks real good. Glad Hera is back. And Rydian Morgan says, new Ratchet & Clank will always be top of my list, but Daisy Ridley in voice acting was a very nice surprise. Now, Kyle, were there any announcements that stood out to you, or is there anything that you'd like to hear more about? What's your most anticipated game for this year or next?
Well, like that commenter just now, I was kind of blown away by the Ratchet and Clank footage. I just think I am a sucker for fun-looking characters in a big, colorful world, and I really like the last PS4 update or remaster of Ratchet and Clank, even though it kind of like took away a lot of the humor of it, of the earlier games. Like, it was so gorgeous to look at. It was just a fun world to play in. So like watching that was really fun, and like seeing the different portals open up and stuff like that. I just think it'll be a really fun playthrough. And of course, I'm a Star Wars kid from way back, so Squadrons of course looks great, and Rebels is one of my favorite Star Wars things just in general. So seeing Hera involved was a big treat there. So those are my two. I'm a very basic gamer. I like games, but I don't venture too far outside the adventure realm. So those would be the two that stood out the most to me.
And hey, you don't need to limit yourself. Gaming is for everyone. So no matter what you like to play, I'm glad there is something. As for myself, I was very intrigued to see more stuff coming for Fall Guys, which is another very accessible, super fun game that if you haven't played it, highly recommend checking out. It's taking over Twitch currently. It's basically like Mario Party meets Bloodsport. It's a violent, colorful celebration of the human spirit and also the dark side of humanity when they grab you right before the end of the race and prevent you from qualifying for the next round. Truly.
Yeah, nobody likes griefers.
Yeah, take it elsewhere. If you want grief, play Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, did you see, Dan, the new announcement for Fall Guys that season 2 is going to be medieval?
Yes, and I can't wait to go medieval on anyone's behind who is trying to grab me at the end of the race. I'm just going to get my halberd and go to town on them.
Love it.
But as for other games that I can't wait to play this year and hope to hear more about, I'm just going to mention Cyberpunk 2077. I used to play the tabletop role-playing game on which it is based, and I cannot wait to see what CD Projekt Red has in store for us. But with that said, that's all the time we have for the news. It's now time for our weekly edition of Nerdist News Trivia. Now, we like to connect our trivia to the barest of threads here. So in honor of Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter finally giving the world more Bill and Ted in Bill and Ted Face the Music, which is in theaters and on VOD now, we're going to be celebrating with some Bill and Ted themed trivia. So, folks, do you have your pen, pencil, or crayon, something to write on? Don't worry, you're all on a level playing field here. These are going to be mostly multiple choice, maybe some true or false sprinkled in for good measure. So let's start things off with number 1. Which historical figure does not travel to San Dimas in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? A. Sigmund Freud, B. Joan of Arc, C. William Shakespeare, or D. Billy the Kid? A. Sigmund Freud, B. Joan of Arc, C. William Shakespeare, or D. Billy the Kid? Which historical figure does not travel to San Dimas? Okay, let's see those answers. All right, first one goes to Kyle. The answer is in fact C. William Shakespeare. All right, moving on to number 2. This is a true or false question. In the original script for Excellent Adventure, the time machine was a 1969 Chevy van. True or false? In the original script, the time machine was a 1969 Chevy van. Okay, Correct. You are all correct. It is true. The script was written before Back to the Future went into production, but after Back to the Future's release, they changed it because they thought it was too similar to the DeLorean. And the original script was also written by hand in 4 days in a coffee shop. So fun fact there. Okay, number 3. After the success of both Bill and Ted movies, Alex Winter directed a cult favorite movie in 1993. What is that film? Is it A, Freaked, B, Punks, C, Rawhead Rex, or D, Zapped? So which cult favorite movie in 1993 did Alex Winter direct? Is it A, Freaked, B, Punks, C, Rawhead Rex, or D, Zapped? Okay, Kyle has lobbied his answer. Okay, Wendy, I have some bad news. The answer is in fact A, Freaked. Now, this movie cost $12 million to make, and overnight, the president of Fox changed and pulled all the distribution of the movie because the new president hated the project, so it only made $29,000 at the box office as a result. So, hence it being a cult classic. Thank you, Fox. Okay, moving on. Which one of these actors auditioned for the role of Ted in 1987 but did not get the part? Is it A, Nicolas Cage, B, Pauly Shore, C, Robert Downey Jr., or D, Val Kilmer? Which one of these actors auditioned for the role of Ted but didn't get the part? A, Nicolas Cage, B, Pauly Shore, C, Robert Downey Jr., or D, Val Kilmer? You are all correct. It is the weed himself, Pauly Shore. And what a different movie that would be. All right, question number 5, moving right along. True or false? The original title of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was Bill and Ted Rock the Underworld. True or false? The original title of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey was Bill and Ted Rock the Underworld. Okay, the answer is in fact false. It was Bill and Ted Go to Hell.
Ah, that's right.
Which, great title. Bogus Journey, still pretty good. Okay, number 6. William Sadler, who plays Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, does naked Tai Chi in the first 10 minutes of another 80s sequel. What movie is Sadman doing the Tai Chi in? Is it A, Wayne's World 2, B, Die Hard 2, Die Harder, C, Terminator 2, or D, Another 48 Hours? William Sadler does naked Tai Chi in this sequel to another 80s movie. Is it Wayne's World 2, Die Hard 2, Terminator 2, or 48 Hours 2? Okay. The answer is in fact B, Die Hard 2, Die Harder. So
I don't remember naked Tai Chi.
Me neither.
no one does.
Okay.
Only William Sadler and Bruce Willis.
You see his butt before you see his face in that movie.
Powerful reveal. See, I would have guessed Keanu Reeves because he went on to direct The Man of Tai Chi, but here we are. All right, number 7. To promote the release of the NES game, Nintendo Power did a raffle that gave away what prop from the movie as a prize? Was it A, Bill and Ted's guitars, B, Rufus's jacket, C, Keanu's vest and Alex Winter's crop top, or D, the phone booth? A, Bill and Ted's guitars, B, Rufus's jacket, C, Keanu's vest and Alex Winter's crop top, or D, the phone booth? What was the prize for a Nintendo Power raffle? All right, let's see those answers. You are all correct. It was the phone booth. It was won by Kenneth Grayson, who in a Reddit AMA in 2011 said the phone booth made him a local celebrity and, oh God, that he had sex in it, but only twice.
Only?
That is a bogus adventure if I've ever heard one. That is a bogus journey. Please.
That is a bogus journey.
He defiled a time machine.
I'm making a movie
so
called
that's
Kenneth Grayson Go to Hell.
Maybe he traveled through time. You don't know.
We don't know.
Yes, he traveled 10 seconds into the future. All right. Question number 8. Sorry, Kenneth. Thank you for your service, I guess. Question number 8. True or false? One of these screenwriters is the son of author Philip K. Dick. True or false? One of the screenwriters is the son of author Philip K. Dick. All right, let's see those answers, folks.
Tangled.
Oh no. The answer is false. So Chris Matheson is the son of Richard Matheson, who wrote I Am Legend, What Dreams May Come, and A Stir of Echoes. So there is a literary connection there, but just not the PKD one we may have been hoping for. Okay, question number 9, and I love this question. How many times do Bill and Ted say dude in Excellent Adventure? A, 70 times, B, 45 times, C, 100 times, or D, 20 times? A, 70, B, 45, C, 100, or D, 20? How many times did they say dude in Excellent Adventure? All right, let's see those answers. Kyle, the answer is in fact A, 70 times, and they also say excellent 30 times. See, they know the value of restraint. They don't want to say it too much. All right, now our final question. True or false, the screenwriters Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson discovered Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter when they were messing around in line in front of them at a Taco Bell. True or false? Screenwriters Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson discovered Keanu and Alex Winter when they were messing around in line in front of them at a Taco Bell. Kyle, I have some bad news. This is false. They were at a McDonald's. But what a story nonetheless.
That's crazy town.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So they were friends before that, and they were just goofing off at a McDonald's?
That's to the best of my understanding, that is the case.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so anytime someone tells you to avoid fast food, you never know. It could ultimately lead to a long, fulfilling career.
Imagine landing a roll when you're just in line to order some chicken McNuggets.
Yeah, just being a goober with your buddy. So I guess just be yourself. It can pay off, especially if yourself happens to be Keanu Reeves or Alex Winter. Mm-hmm. All right, my supercomputer has tabulated the results, and our winner is Kyle Anderson. Kyle, woo! So proud of you. Your trophy in the mail. So thank you everyone for playing. But now, Kyle, because you are the winner, you are up first on our 30-second soapbox. You can get whatever's on your chest off your chest. Talk about anything in the world you want to. So what do you have for us, Kyle?
Well, I have been big into self-care these last few 100 days, it seems like, forever. And I may be the last person on the planet who has discovered Schitt's Creek, the show, and it is just wonderful. And I wish there was more of it to watch, but there isn't. So I'm just going to keep watching it over and over again. But maybe the best and most like hopeful and pleasant show on television.
Awesome.
Oh, I have more time. It's so good. I hope it wins all the Emmys this year.
Yeah, it's nice to see that show finally get recognized. And I think you spoke to something that I've been feeling a lot lately, and that's the world could use a little bit more hope right now. So anything like that, definitely worth your time. All right, Wendy, you're up next on the soapbox. What do you got for us?
So just like Kyle, I've been very into self-care and doing some bullet journaling just to kind of have some sort of like a structure to my day. And I also realized amidst all this pandemic, it is so important to continue to connect with your friends. So download whatever internet things you need to and see your friends in little boxes. It may not seem like it's a big deal, but believe it or not, I always feel so much better. And I appreciate all of I think I'm on 4 different like TTRPG campaigns right now, just playing with your friends. Do that for yourself and just keep in touch with your friends. Check on them because you never know how they're feeling. Check on them. Say hello.
I think that's a great message. And honestly, even just reaching out to someone with a text message, sending them a silly meme or something goes a long way. It makes people feel like you care about them because you do. And everyone needs to feel that right now. And speaking of connecting, where can people connect with you online, Wendy?
You can find me on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel and on Twitter and Instagram, just my name at Wendy Lee Zaney.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, before I move on to Trisha, Kyle, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter at Kyle D. Anderson, and I'm on Instagram at Functional Nerd, but Kyle D. Anderson is probably better on Twitter. Go find me there.
Awesome. You can also read his wonderful stuff on Nerdist.com.
Oh,
all right.
Thank you very much for saying so.
Moving on to Trisha. Trisha, what do you got for us?
Yes to the connectivity. Yes to the self-care. Do all those things. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Wear a mask. If you're looking for another awesome TV show, don't forget The Boys season 2 comes out really soon, and that's going to be so good. It's definitely only for a certain type of viewer, but I think it's fantastic. So highly recommend. And yeah, I mean, you can find me on the internet in a lot of different places. I mostly do tech and video game hosting for Newegg and Kingston and Fandom, and then I have my own YouTube and Twitch channels as well. And the Twitch channel, I do a show with Maud Garrett every Friday. You might know Maud Garrett from Nerdist Book Club. She and I do a show called Power Up, which is all playing, watching, and reading. That's every Friday. That airs live on my Twitch channel and then later on Maud's Geek Bomb YouTube channel. And I have an indie games showcase that I mentioned that it's in a game show format. It's called the Twitch Gong Show. And that is every Tuesday on my Twitch channel as well. That's just twitch.tv/Trisha Hershberger. And our community is called the Dragon Riders. It's one of the nicest places on the internet. So come join and find a community of people to hang out with where we play video games. It's a good time.
That is awesome. That sounds like everything I want and more. Indie games, nice people, all in one place. Incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone today for joining me. And I'm glad you brought up Nerdist Book Club. Folks, if you want to learn more about Dune as well, you want to have a discussion component as well, they have all of Dune. Nerdist Book Club did Dune earlier this year, so you can watch the VODs of that. And if you're enjoying Lovecraft Country as much as I am, they're in the middle of Lovecraft Country right now. The book is phenomenal. The audio book is phenomenal, so make sure you get on that. But in the meantime, thank you to everyone here on the panel and to everyone at home for joining us today. With that, make sure you check out our interviews with the cast of Marvel's Avengers game, served now wherever fine Nerdist content is streamed. And that said, we'll see you folks here next Monday for a brand new episode of Nerdist News Talks Back at 2 p.m. Pacific, live on Nerdist YouTube channel and Geek and Sundry's Twitch. So until then, stay safe, be healthy, wear a mask, and have a great day. Bye-bye.